Your adult child is not talking to you. Maybe it even feels like they have cut you off. That is what we're talking about tonight. I'm Jonathan. I'm a family therapist. I'm an addictions counselor. I am the host of this group, right? We've been stuck in this cycle for a long time. My child barely talks to me anymore. Every conversation turns into an argument or they just shut down. They have shut me out. Well, I don't want you to keep trying harder with the same approach, right? If you're in that situation, it's time to have a different conversation. Right? It's a reset. It's a conversation about rebuilding the relationship. So it's not a conversation about getting a job. It's not a conversation about college. It's not a conversation about marijuana, video games, chores, responsibilities, or whatever they're doing wrong. It's a conversation about your relationship. So it might sound something like this. Hey, I've been thinking about us a lot lately, and I don't like where our relationship has gotten. I feel like somewhere along the way, we've got caught in this cycle where I keep trying to help you and you keep feeling like you need to pull away. So I want you to know something. I love you. That hasn't changed and that's not going to change. But I also realize something. You are an adult now, and there are decisions that belong to you. I cannot live your life for you. It's your turn to take control of your life. See, this is where it's important for parents to own their own part in this. And I'm serious in this, right? I don't believe either side is completely uh, innocent or hasn't done something ineffective or wrong in this situation, right? This is a time to own your part. So it's not because everything's your fault, it's because your part is the only thing that you can change, right? As a parent, that's all you have, right? And when you focus on your part and you claim your part and you own that part, it can be a very powerful moment. So you say to them, you know, I think sometimes I've crossed the line. I've been supporting you and trying to control your life. My intentions were good, but now I can see how that may not have felt that way to you, right? And then you can explain what you're going to do differently, right? You can say, I'm working on getting really clear about what I'm responsible for in my life, right? And what I'm not responsible for in your life anymore. These are some of the boundaries, right? And then you explain to them, right? Your finances, your home, the things you're willing to do and not do, right? You tell them that you need to work on being consistent with those. And I'm serious, right? They need to hear where those boundaries are. These are my things, my responsibilities. I want to be consistent with owning those. But I also want to respect that there are decisions that belong to you, even when I don't agree with them, even when I'm worried, even when I think you're making a mistake, right? I need to respect that those are your decisions. And then is, I think, one of the most powerful sentences that you can say, statements that you can say in a moment like that. You say, I'm going to do my best to support you instead of trying to control you. Why is that so important? Right? That means so much to a young adult, right? I'm being trusted. I'm being supported. I'm not being controlled. I'm being believed in. Now, that can also put a panic into a young adult, like, oh, I don't know how to do this without someone telling me what to do, or I've never been responsible. No one's ever actually made me be responsible for these things and held me to it. That can create a panic in them, but it's also an open door for them to learn and to grow, right? So it's not about control, it's about support. But let's be clear, support does not mean rescuing. Support does not mean agreeing with everything. Support does not mean removing certain consequences. And support, well, really, support means that they have to learn how to build their own life. right? And you believing in them while they do that process, right? You believe in their ability to take over their life, to take control of their life, and you're going to support them and trust them along the way. Once you have that conversation, leave the door open. Right? And that's where you can say something like, if you ever want my opinion, my help, or just someone to listen, I hope you'll come to me. I can't promise I'll always agree, but I can promise I'll work hard to listen before I speak. Right? And it's okay to say that. You're two different people. You're not going to agree on everything. Your kid knows that. You know that. Right? That's not the problem. It's about how you relate to each other, how you listen. And listening before you speak is a great way to build connection and rebuild that relationship. So I want to say something about this. I'll probably say it twice. Don't expect that one conversation to magically fix everything. That's not how it works. If you've been if you've been stuck in this pattern for years, 2 years, 5 years, however many years, trust usually isn't rebuilt in one evening, right? I just don't see that. Even in the most amazing conversations, it takes time. Why? Because when trust uh, is rebuilt, it's because your words are matching your action over time. It's kind of like a formula, right? So what you're saying matches what you're doing consistently. And the same for them, right? That's a big part of trust. And your child needs to experience that, right? That you're really becoming someone with clear boundaries and also someone who is continually emotionally safe to talk to, right? That's when relationships really start to change, right? Not because you're controlling them better, but because you're relating to them differently. Don't compare where your child is today with where they need to be in the future. Parents often get trapped in that space, right? It's that space between where their adult child is today and where they desperately want them to be. And in that space, right, in that middle is where arguments happen. That's where lectures happen, power struggles, constant attempts to get your child to change. Right? Your job isn't to stand in the middle trying to force them to the finish line. You don't want to be in that place. Your job is to be clear about your own boundaries. And that allows your adult child to take ownership of their own journey. And then you can stay connected in a way that keeps the relationship alive. Again, will that cause or create change instantly? No, it won't. There are no guarantees. But I can tell you this, I've seen families stay stuck for years because the parents kept trying to do a job that only their adult child could do. Right? And it's not blaming all the parents, right? I've seen many adult children who are manipulating, they're taking advantage of it, they're right, it's just a messed up thing. We need to see clearly what the roles are, right? And I've seen relationships go from really, really stuck to slowly beginning to heal when parents became clear on what was their lane and the adult children became clear on what was their lane and they stayed connected through the process. So it doesn't make the journey easy, but it gives the relationship room to breathe. And sometimes that's exactly what is needed for real lasting change to begin.